Welcome to Tagged Beyond the Award, the podcast that celebrates innovation, excellence, and leadership. Each episode dives into inspiring stories behind the nominees and winners of the TAG Awards, uncovering the breakthroughs, challenges, and triumphs that define their journey. Whether it's cutting-edge technology, transformative products, or visionary leadership, we're here to explore what it means to stand out and shape the future of your industry. Let's go beyond the award and into the heart of innovation. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to Tagged Beyond the Award. My name is Justin Starbird, and today I get to welcome a good friend of mine and special guest to the show, new judge for the TAG Awards for MedTech 2025, MedTech entrepreneur, investor, and exited founder, Rick Greenwald. Rick, great to see you, bud.
Great to see you, Justin.
Hey, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk about this. We're really excited to have you as a judge for the inaugural TAG Awards. Often I get asked about our judges and who they are, and that's why we wanted to start off this podcast series, getting to know who our judges are and why you decided to participate.
Oh, well, having worked with TAG and the Abley Group before and with you personally, these kinds of awards are really valuable to help companies get some marketing appeal, get something validation of what they're doing and where they're headed, and to have sophisticated investors or people who have done this before take a look at these products and give some feedback. There's value across the chain of the award process that you've set up.
Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to getting your insight and expertise as we go down this road. We're getting set to kick off the awards here shortly. But you've been in the business and medtech space. You call yourself a serial entrepreneur. You've been fortunate to exit a couple of projects as well. What have you seen, for changes over the years? And, what are you most excited about today?
Well, thanks for asking, Justin. I think the biggest shift probably in the medical device and medical technology space is the cadence and the timing of investment into the companies by investors and third parties. And you have to take the project and the product probably further along as a startup before you can get that kind of investment. So you have to get work done, you have to get noticed, and you probably have to even get the product on the market before you might get a significant investment into your idea. So the idea of getting some exposure and getting some possibility of some sales through marketing and other capabilities is really important, and probably a little different than it used to be when investors would buy earlier and maybe keep it under the hood for a while.
Yeah, no kidding. You've been, on the side of, new technology in the space for a while. You've seen a couple of, fads come and go. Your career arc is pretty special and unique. What do you make of stuff coming out today? Previously, they're comparing the AI and all algorithms that are inserted into med devices as almost as similar to the internet boom of the late 1990s, early 2000s. What has that been like to see such a unique change through your career?
Great one. I mean, the digital explosion has been real and very interesting to watch and follow and participate in. We can measure things and record huge amounts of data and then analyze those data so much quicker and with greater tools now than we ever had before. So the ability to think big around collecting things on people in their environments has just really exploded. And I think that's what makes it really exciting in the medtech space, because there's so much we don't know outside of a doctor's office or a laboratory that we can now see in some ways and then make decisions around.
Yeah, I always love that when you talk about the initiation of sensors into devices. You've always been, I want to say, at the forefront of that with any projects that you're on. What is that like today to see that information that you're collecting actually come through to mean something?
Oh, what a great broad question you've asked. I mean, the ability to translate that data into actionable outputs for maybe helping people to stay mobile or to help keep them safe or to help keep them happy. That's the promise, and that's the things we're starting to see come out now that AI has taken hold, and you can really use that information real time and give that feedback to someone, and they can change. It can learn from them individually. It's not just group dynamics anymore, and it's not just how do they compare to some normative data. It can be how is someone doing something, and how is that different than they did it yesterday, or maybe a week ago, or over the last 3 years.
I know it's unreal to see the ability to change things so quickly, and it's so much fun to see that. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we launched the awards, and it was to capitalize on those folks taking chances and seeing their risks come to fruition as new devices. What was something that when you think of the awards? What does that mean for a startup, or what does that mean even for an established company that's coming out with a new device?
Sure. Anytime you can put together a package that forces you to present what you've done, where you're headed, why, what's its value proposition, and how you're going to actually turn it into revenue generation and profit, forces you to to maybe go down a little deeper and maybe get involved more, and then to present that publicly, and then to have people give you feedback. Often the only time you ever get that is from investors, or if you're trying to sell the company, and maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you just want to get that information out there, and you want some good learning from it so that you can pivot or accelerate or do things maybe a little differently. The feedback you get from the people in the space is as valuable as the award itself. But awards like this really do have value on a couple of different levels. Sometimes it's for your staff. Really, really great to be able to go back to your team and say, hey, we won this award. People are recognizing what we're doing and see value in it. You can use it for both local, national, and international, um, you know, getting yourself out there. And so people know what you're doing when you're ready to do that. So the awards have values across different levels of the company and the dynamic of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, credibility is paramount when you're talking about launching a new device and gaining trust with potential customers or users in med device space and healthcare. Of course, you're looking at doctors and clinicians. You want them to have an intuitive sense of how to use the product, but then also give the end user or the recipient of the care some comfort in knowing that the device will work. So, I mean, that's our hope, right?
Always, always. Sometimes these things come out of academic or clinical institutions where it's a great scientific idea and it's got some data collection and some proof of it. But I think when it gets translated into how is it practically used and how is it going to be seen by the customer, then you get different feedback. And that
Yeah.
feedback can be really, really valuable to add to your clinical uh, data and your credibility in that regard.
Yeah, I love that you talked about feedback and what you get in return for putting in a nomination or applying for an award. And to be candid, when I brought this idea to you a couple of months ago, your first question to me was, well, what's the return on investment? How are you going to help the recipient? What's their value prop out of this? And we shared a lot of the benefits and what the TAG Awards are hoping to do for nominees and eventual winners. But for you personally, what does that return on investment? How do you help define that for projects that you're working on when you apply for awards?
If we want to uh, get some early validation, both internally and externally, then you can spend a little bit of money to get these judges to now look at your work and look at it critically and give you really valuable feedback. Um, I think it's what I said a little bit earlier about forcing you into the process of really evaluating and how are you going to present this in a way that's not just internal. Hey, this is the best thing we're going to build, and this is why we're doing it. You have to say it in a way that that's sticky for people outside of your environment. That's probably the best ROI I can think through is you get that external validation and external input that you might never have gotten otherwise. I can't underscore how much you get for a small investment in applying for an award in this case. And if you win the award, then you get all the bonuses of having your name out there. You get great press. The industry uh, enjoys awards like this, and the publications that cover our industry really are good partners for taking that information and sharing it publicly so that others see it. And that
Yeah.
just generates more interest in this kind of project or program, where you can now get people to say, "Oh, I want to show that I can compete against others, and that people find value in what we're doing."
I mean, no doubt I get excited about it just thinking through, what the possibilities are. In addition, we're really hoping to have our nominees and our winners on this show too, to talk about their experience, to give them some more exposure, to, hear their stories, because as you know, no overnight success comes overnight. Comes after years and years of unseen hard work, dedication, heartbreak, and a couple of successes that led to supposed opportunities in the market, right?
We all need some wins once in a while. It's not so bad to win something, and even just competing is still fun for most of us. We like to compete against our peers and see how we stack up.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting. That's how you and I met, actually, was through an awards program. What drew you to this? I mean, I brought it to you. You asked a lot of dissenting questions before you came on as a judge, but what led you to finally say yes? Hey, I want to participate. I want to be able to give some of that feedback to these companies.
Well, I think the way you stated how you wanted the program to go, how you wanted to be inclusive of a wide range of technologies across the medical space. You wanted to give exposure to companies that were really small potentially, and up through. And you'll also find people who might be valuable for you to help and your group to help in their marketing efforts moving forward, which is really nice as to be connected to that. My dissent was mostly around, do you have critical mass? Do you have interest? Do people still want this today, this kind of program? And I think the answer is yes. I haven't seen a decrease in the interest in this kind of opportunity, that people don't want to try and get involved with it. So I was just wanting to make sure you and your team were ready to engage this and do it at the right level with the high quality judging, high quality program, and as you always do, you always put out quality work. So that's a great testament to why I'd be willing to help again.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words. It is with a lot of labor of love and our own previous experience, to be able to do this. And it's also neat to see the opportunity to work with folks like you that have been in the space for literally decades at this point. Not to give your age away or anything, but you and I have talked at length often about the changes in the med tech space, what's working, what's not, and what are some of the trends that we think are fads and the others that'll stick. One thing that never changes is that great leaders are the ones that generally produce great products. And an opportunity to showcase that leadership through awards is a really great opportunity. When you're advising young companies or companies in transition, how do you help leaders see what's next and how to take advantage of the talent that they have?
Well, that's the most important question, is what to do next with the limited resources you always have. And we've always taken the approach of trying to de-risk your project by attacking the hardest problems first. And that hardest problem may be understanding what the customer might want, understanding what the investor might want, understanding what the system can absorb and how it might be used in a real use case. All of these are really critical and hard questions. Most everyone likes to focus on the technology and build it smaller, cheaper, faster. And that's all great. And you have to do that at some point. But sometimes the best advice to give is to what you have is good enough for now. You now show that someone wants to use it and how they'll use it and why they would pay for it.
Yeah,
And that's probably what getting this kind of exposure is all about, is getting that kind of information.
sure. What are some things that you look for in leaders when you're looking to, either help them out, invest as you've done in the past, or even take a board seat somewhere?
Uh, A key is whether the leader knows what their strengths and limitations are, and the team they surround themselves with.
Yeah.
Um, just like you've done, I've done, we've all had to do, is you have to pick and then trust people to help you. You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
I have a great slide in some presentations I gave years ago about if you look at the org chart and your name's under every bucket, you know you have a problem because that's not scalable. And so the leaders who are willing to say, I'm really good at this, I really like this part, let me hire some really brilliant people around me, and work with them. And where I can't hire someone because I don't have enough resources, find the right consultants at the right level for the right amount and time, so that you can grow the business, you don't run out of money, but you get the critical needs you have fulfilled at the right time. That's kind of important. That's what good leaders do. They find a way, with limited resources and limited time, and unanswered questions. Usually you
Yeah.
don't know everything, and you're solving problems all along the way. So the good ones solve the problems, move on, solve the problems, move on, and don't get bogged down in the minutia of what's not perfect about the technology.
Yeah. I think that is, it can become an obsessive point, right? When you're looking at that the piece of the technology, and you've gotten to a point where people are saying, hey, yes, we would use it, we want it, and it's functional. To your point, then it's okay, give it to them and then reiterate the next generation so that it's even better, right?
The hardest part is how to get someone to pay for it and then have them keep paying for it or buy the next version so that you can scale and grow. Because
Yeah.
that's ultimately that's the success of the product or the business.
Yeah. Is that one of the biggest challenges you see in medtech right now, is overcoming the obstacle to pay for devices, or are there other obstacles that you're seeing in the medtech space that are really a hindrance?
I think it depends on the delivery mechanism. If you're going direct to consumer, even with medical technology or medical health technologies, it's a different play. If you're going through regulated markets where there's reimbursement involved, that's probably the biggest challenge most people are facing. The reimbursement um, markets are really hard. Getting someone to say this is medically necessary, and that it provides value is very expensive. To do, and you have to plan really early. You can't just say, oh, we're going to build it and then we'll figure out how to get someone to pay for it and get a code for that. That usually leads to running out of money and not having success.
Yeah.
So getting your arms around the how is this going to get paid for, and not saying we'll solve that later, I think that's the one of the biggest challenges now in med tech, that is going to have to be paid for by the system, if you will, as opposed to by individuals.
Yeah. Are there other challenges that you're seeing out there right now?
It's getting access to those who make those decisions. The
Mm,
value care, value chain people in these systems are really hard to get access to. And, a joke I always make is, how much data do they and Medicare want before they'll give you reimbursement? Just a little more than you have.
right.
So you're always chasing it. And the idea is you can't pin them down because no one will tell you what they really need or what the bar is. So you spend a lot of time and money trying to figure out how to get them what they want, and you don't know what the criteria are.
Well, it's always a moving target, right? I mean, that's the challenge.
Right. That used to be the problem in the regulatory industry, but a lot of that's been solved. I think CDRH, the Center for Device and Radiologic Health at FDA, has really done a great job over the last 10 years, 15 years in making the decision matrices and the clarity around what you need to get regulatory approval much more clear. And I think it's a little more opaque in the reimbursement side of it still.
Yeah. Well, conversely, we talk about challenges and we talk about problems all the time. Everybody, has something to complain about, but there's also a lot of opportunity out there right now. Where are you seeing, or what are you most optimistic about in this space?
I think the ability to measure and monitor information and data off of individuals and groups in large scale, and then make some sense out of that data. Just what we talked about at the outset of this discussion is really probably the prime opportunity. There, early focus has been on things like mental health. You can do digital apps that can monitor and give some feedback in the mental health space, really valuable. And now how do we expand beyond that? The opportunity is huge. If we can monitor people, how can we prevent falls?
Right.
in the home? How can we do that in a cost-effective way with devices that uh, aren't obtrusive to someone or they won't wear at night? Most older adults won't wear something around their neck all the time or something around their waist that might be indicative that they've taken a fall. It's just an example, but preventing falls is a great opportunity, and these kinds of technologies offer the opportunity to do that. So I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of development going on right now, both in sensors, the ability to monitor and measure things, maybe pulling some of the data out of devices that have lower acuity or less accurate that we wear every day. You know, you can't just take everything off of a smartphone or a smartwatch and and get data sometimes that are accurate enough or that provide enough information and context for you to make an intelligent decision. Other times you can, depends on the question you're asking.
Right.
So I think the opportunity is vast right now, and we have to think through what these new technologies can bring and offer. And companies that are doing this really have to focus on how those technologies will and won't solve the problem they're trying to solve.
Well, that's a great point. And kind of come back to, the reason for our interview today and why we're talking is, we're of course launching the TAG Awards for MedTech here in 2025. And, Rick, you volunteered to be a judge and we're so excited for that. How are you going to help maybe or judge these nominations where it might be the same category, similar product? And, what are some things that you're looking for to differentiate, those nominations?
Thanks for asking. It's I probably won't know until I see them and can compare them. I think that's the right way to go about it, is to take a look. But um, as usual, I think the criteria are around everything from the creativity of the idea, the novelty of it, the innovation around it, but also its applicability, the target market, and how many people it can help. Is it protectable from an intellectual property standpoint so that the company has a likely chance of getting growing, getting acquired if that's the appropriate pathway? I think those are the really interesting criteria. Um, and and can the company describe how it's going to monetize its opportunity? I
Yeah.
think those are the things that are most important. Even young companies who haven't gotten there yet still have to be able to think that through and be able to articulate it early, because and it's so important both for getting dilutive or non-dilutive funding, even if you're going for some of the great government awards that are out there that will support R&D in the medical technology space. You have to be able to say how you're going to take the output of this work and then translate it to clinical use or commercial use.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I think that's really exciting to, just to see the differentiations that, maybe similar products or companies have. What are you most looking forward to in terms of either product, or is it to give feedback? What are you most looking forward to about participating in this?
I think I'm looking forward to getting introduced to a next generation of entrepreneurs. I think there's a great number of people out there who have just come through universities and even corporate settings where entrepreneurialism and technology commercialization has been focused on where it never had in the past. And so now you have I'm seeing it in my own children, I'm seeing it in their friends, I'm seeing it in younger employees who have all been taught that commercialization is good and
Hmm.
it's important. And I think they have the tools that maybe some of us didn't have. We all had to learn on our own just by hook or crook. Um, they're armed with those capabilities. Now they need the connections. Now they need the network to help them thrive. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing if there's new ideas and new entrepreneurs out there who we can all help to their next level. That'll be
Absolutely.
fun.
I would totally agree. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk through, your experience, what you've been up to, what you're looking forward to, what you see are some of the challenges, and certainly where you see opportunities. So thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Looking forward to working with the other judges and seeing how this goes in the next couple of months.
Hey, you and me both. This is going to be a fun ride for sure. Well,
Thanks.
On behalf of my guest today, Rick Greenwald, you're listening to Tagged Beyond the Awards.
On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening to Tagged Beyond the Award. We hope you've been inspired by the stories of innovation and leadership shared today. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more incredible journeys behind the breakthroughs. If you or someone you know is leading the way in innovation, visit tagawards.co to learn more about how to get involved. Until next time, stay driven, keep innovating, and keep reaching for excellence.